All right, hello everybody. So today we're going to be talking about unrealized gains and losses and realized gains and losses. And just know that today we're only going to talk about when you're long a security. So that means when you actually own it. There's something else called being short a security, but we're not going to talk about that today. We're going to save that for another episode. And so, why is it important to know the difference between unrealized and realized gains slash losses? Well, I have clients call me up all the time, and they've noticed that there has been an increase in their portfolio, so their stocks are doing well, and they'll say, "Hey, send me a check." And I'll say, "All right, well, you don't have any cash in your account. What do you want me to sell?" And they say, "I don't know what you mean." And that's the key. Understanding the difference is fundamental to understanding how the market works, hence today's video. So a simple example, let's say you have $100,000 and you can buy all sorts of products with it. You could do a banana, maybe a car, or maybe even a house. Um, and let's go with the house example. So let's say you spend your $100,000 to buy a house. So you no longer have $100,000, you just have an asset that's a house that's worth $100,000. And let's say that your neighborhood has some changes happen within it. Let's say the crime rate goes down, and let's say the school system gets better, and let's say you also put a ton of money into your house. So maybe you finish some things, you finish your kitchen, you finish your basement. Now you have a cool ass basement. It's quite the man cave. Everyone wants to hang out there. So now people are demanding your house. Your house is now worth more in the market. People are willing to pay, let's say, $150,000 for your house. So you only spent $100,000 on your house. So you're sitting at a profit of $50,000. This $50,000 profit, that's an unrealized gain. You don't actually have that cash magically sitting in your pocket. You have to actually sell it in order to get that cash. If you sold your house, you'd get $150,000, and the difference, the 50,000, would be cash in your pocket. That's a realized gain. So it's an unrealized gain when the market value of your asset has increased. It's a realized gain when you actually sell it and get the cash. And this also applies the other way. So let's say the same house, you bought it for 100,000, but it goes down in value for some reason. So now your house is worth $50,000 in the market. Someone's willing to pay $50,000 for your house. That's an unrealized gain, or sorry, unrealized loss of $50,000. So if you were to sell your house right now, you'd lose $50,000. It's not until you sell your house that you actually realize that loss. So until you sell it, before you sell it, you're the market value of your house is just less. But once you sell it, you've actually lost $50,000. And so this actually applies to financial securities as well, such as stocks. So let's transition the example to stocks. Um, let's say that you have $100 in your brokerage account, and you use that $100 to buy one share of stock, such as Apple. So you no longer have $100. Someone else is $100 richer, and you now have plus one Apple share. So now you have an asset. If And let's say Apple comes out with a new product. It's revolutionary. Everybody wants it. Big changes. It's the iPhone 22. Um, you flip that bad boy over. The big difference is a shittier logo and 8 cameras. So picture quality is amazing. Everyone's demanding it now. So Apple goes up to $200 a share, and you only paid 100 for it. You have an $100 unrealized gain. If you actually want to access that profit, you'd have to sell your share of Apple. And once you sell it, you'd collect $200. You'd have a realized gain of $100. On the flip side, let's say you didn't sell it and it went down. It went down to $90. You bought it for $100 a share, and now it's worth 90. You have an unrealized loss of $10. And it's only when you sell that share that you would realize the loss of $10. And it's interesting to look at this in a real life example because the unrealized gain slash loss is simply a loss on paper. It hasn't actually occurred yet. And so an interesting example is when someone's portfolio decreases in value and they want to sell their positions to reduce any more losses. For example, in 2020 when COVID hit, many people had a giant unrealized loss. What we're looking at here is the S&P 500. That's an index. Basically, it just measures investors' confidence in the 500 biggest companies in the US. And we can see if we're looking at the March timeframe, February, March, that the S&P 500 hit a high. But when the pandemic hit, it freaking dropped so far so quickly. In a few weeks, it dropped really, really far. And that scared people. People started selling and then more people started selling. And if we look at like Apple, for example, so if you had Apple in your account at that time, a lot of people did. At it late February, early March, Apple had hit a high. When the pandemic hit, oh well, here let's look at the price. So the high at that time was $80.11. That's late February. Once the pandemic hit, it lost a lot of value. Um, it looks like it went down to about it was about $53 per share. That's almost a loss of $30 per share in a few week time span. So you'd be sitting at an unrealized loss of $30 per share approximately. And so a lot of people were super scared and they actually sold their Apple stock for a loss. So they actually realized the loss. If they had just held it, maybe for the next year approximately, or I guess even a few months if we look at the chart, they would have, and if we look at the current price of Apple is $121.10. They would have had an unrealized gain of $40 from that original 80. So as you can see, and this is important to understand, unrealized gains or losses on a position aren't truly a loss or a gain until you actually close the position. So, for example, selling the security.